initially when they approached us, I was supposed to go to LA to shoot with David Beckham. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then one of the producers mentioned, like, I think this would be more impactful if we went to the Rio Grande Valley. And I mean, they did. And I couldn't have asked, I knew meeting David Beckham would have been great, but I couldn't have asked for a better way to start off and kick off our season with it.
Welcome back in Morning Kickaround. Very pleased to welcome our guest, Jamal Fayed from the RGV Red Crowns, participating in the league for clubs. Had a very successful season and a late playoff run. Wanted to see what's going on there at the southern border on and off the field. And you're a commercial star, too. Wanted to say congrats on that.
Yeah, star should be used very loosely if we want to say that. Thanks for having me back, guys.
I've never been in an ad for a major international bank, Jamal. Come on. That's huge, man. That's massive. How was that?
It was nuts. I mean, one, just the economic impact to the community. Bank of America set out. We had an agreement on what we would love to have focused and captured on the spot, and my only ask was to keep everything local. From getting the extras, getting all the what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry,
like the crew and stuff, like everybody who made the commercial.
The crew, or? But I'm so like soccer. I want to say merch. There's another word for it.
It's all right. Sorry,
but, anyway. Props. That's what I'm looking for.
Props. There you go.
Props were made locally. Everything truly was done locally. So much so there was about a $1.5 million dollar impact in the local economy in just about 4 days, from hotel stays to the staff eating every single night. I mean, they employed about over 600 locals just to be extras in this spot. So initially, when they approached us, I was supposed to go to LA to shoot with David Beckham. And I was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then one of the producers mentioned, like, I think this would be more impactful if we went to the Rio Grande Valley. And I mean, they did. And I couldn't have asked, I knew meeting David Beckham would have been great, but I couldn't have asked for a better way to start off and kick off our season with this spot, what it did for a lot of people. One of the extras in the commercial, she's a barista. She told me that because of that spot, because of the extra cash she got, she was able to do her study abroad session in Spain. She was able to purchase her first car. So it was really cool that, they kept it local and kind of showed, kind of matched our motto and just, keeping everything local here in the Rio Grande Valley. So we couldn't be more proud.
That is killer. That is amazing. I was so thrilled. I was watching my World Cup in Espanol on Telemundo, Jamal, and I'm like, hey, I know that guy, or at least I've talked to that guy. I don't know if we would like that, Jamal, but I was like, I know that guy. That's awesome. Well, now, and the thing about it is, like, we can talk about the impact of the World Cup on your club, and it's going to tie a lot to what Bank of America did for you. But I mean, obviously, this is a huge thing for everybody. That soccer kind of, in our part of the world, right? And you're in a part of the world where the culture of the game is probably it's deeper maybe in some other parts of America, but how has the World Cup impacted Red Crowns and sort of the outlook for community-based clubs like yours?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. To your point, I think it was the perfect storm. And I remember launching last year. It may have been too soon, but I wanted to be established for this year, for the World Cup. I mean, I had no idea we were going to have a commercial, but I knew that Soccer Fever was going to be alive and well. So to your point, the Valley is encompassed of 37 cities or towns that make the Rio Grande Valley. And each town had their own World Cup event, and each World Cup event was packed. From McAllen, that drew in 5,000 to 8,000 people each Mexico game. Brownsville, the city of Brownsville, Visit Brownsville, had an event that brought in a few thousand. Harlingen, where we play out of, had watch parties for both USA and Mexico. And to add on top of all the restaurants, all the bars, everyone did something involving the World Cup. And we decided as a staff not to do anything ourselves, but to show love to everybody else who was doing something, because so much was going on. And so, just being where we're at, having the soccer community and even those outside of it all together at once, we just wanted to take advantage of it. And so I think you raised a lot of eyebrows. You got people who didn't know we existed. We had people who just didn't know much about the sport. And this, I don't know if it was because, all the games were in prime time and just having the World Cup in your own backyard. But this year, or this World Cup, felt different. And I've been watching since I could remember the 98 World Cup. But something about this year and the people that got invested into the sport, it felt different than ever before.
Yeah, it certainly did. There's definitely conversations and people in the mix with the sport that we didn't see necessarily as interested and is genuinely interested. I know there was a week where United States was, after they won against Bosnia, local sports talk stations that never talk soccer across the country were talking about it in a more earnest manner than we'd ever seen it ever really before. But you mentioned last year you launched, this is your second year. So yeah, is there some things you can point at anecdotally and even data driven from year one to year two for the Red Crowns?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we did have growth year one and year two. We beat all of our attendance marks that we were trying to hit. Funny story. Well, first and foremost, before I get ahead of myself, Jason, I'm an Ultra, man. We're family at this point.
All right, good. I like, man, Jamal. I love it, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no. So, first, I knew whenever the commercial would run because our team store, we would just get like 8, 9, 10 online orders immediately, and all from out of the area. So we shipped in 38 states this year, merchandise. We also shipped in about 8 different countries. We shipped in Brazil, England, France, Lithuania. We had 2 Lithuanian players, but as much as I love the international sales, we actually lost money because I didn't realize how expensive international shipping was. But not my favorite, but we'll take it. But anyway, we grew about 40% in merchandise sales from last year, and our attendance, we had 2 games that we sold over 1,600 tickets, which was our marquee number that we were trying to hit. So we did that twice. And attendance in general was up about 30% as it was last year. And keep in mind, last year was launching, first ever. There was excitement behind that. So to beat those numbers, we were really proud and really excited about it.
So, we just spent some time talking about a professional team in Oakland who's got a stadium issue, right? Their problem is they want to be getting 5,000-10,000 people out. They need a place to play. They got to meet all these standards, and it costs a lot of money to operate their venue. So you're talking about you losing money because you had to pay for international shipping. Obviously, you're not spending $1 million on your venue, Jamal. But in terms of like what it looks like to level up, and you talked about getting out ahead of yourself a little bit because the World Cup was important to getting attention for soccer. How do you? I think obviously from talking to you, I think you're pretty clearly a level-headed guy. But one thing I think in American soccer we've got is a lot of people who get very excited about trying to get going too fast. Is that something you think about? Like, just like if somebody came to you and said, "Hey, I really like what you're doing. We're going to give you a bunch of money to do X, Y, or Z." Is that always a good thing?
No, I think me personally, and thank you for calling me level-headed. I think some would disagree with me, but I'd love to jump. If we could be pro right now, we'd be pro right now. I think I was on that side of things here in the Rio Grande Valley with the RGV Toros, and it doesn't always work, right? I think one thing we want to do is if we are going to make that jump, we want to do it with our fans in mind. With their input, just the same way we launched our brand. So we are having these discussions now, and we're asking our season ticket holders, like, hey, you're paying so much for a season ticket. You're having a great time. It's all local vendors. It's local athletes playing on the field, majority. But if we were to jump, this all would change. Your season ticket would double, maybe even triple. The roster would look entirely different. I don't know if we would have 5 local guys. That $6 beer that you really like, that's going to be a $15 beer. So I think if we were going to make any jump, we would get our fan base's input first. One thing we did behind the scenes, we don't really talk about this, but we made sure to put a plan in place that we are able to make that jump. So our stadium allows us to make that jump to the pro ranks if needed. Essentially, what I wanted to build when we launched the Red Crowns was a turnkey product. If somebody with those kind of pockets did want to go pro or take this pro for the Rio Grande Valley, the market is a market that MLS wants to be in, MLS Next Pro, USL want to be in. USL have been talking to Brownsville about bringing the club back. It's a strong market in itself, but then you also have the Mexican market right across the border that, you know, we kind of forget about. So altogether, you have over 1.8 million folks between the two borders. There's a lot of travel. There's a lot of economic movement between the Reynosa and Matamoros cities in Mexico and McAllen, Brownsville, Harlingen. So I think from an investor standpoint, it makes sense. But to your point, there's so many stories of the venue. It was just too expensive. We had these numbers we had to hit. So we made sure that we have everything in place if we want to make that jump, but we won't make that jump if the fan base doesn't want it either. There's no point in being a pro team and you're getting, you know, 300-400 people a game. So we really covered our tracks there and made sure that we are ready to make that jump, but it doesn't happen if community doesn't say so.
Yeah, so in a bit of a get to know your district sort of a question, we discussed your venue more specifically the first time you were on, but could you kind of paint the picture for newer listeners about kind of the history of soccer? Like you mentioned the Toros and then where you stepped in, and because you're not playing in the same venue as they were playing in, right?
No, so our venue, we played Harlingen Field. It was a minor league baseball stadium that was built in 1950. They were an affiliate to the New York Brooklyn Giants, excuse me. And baseball was played there up until the early 2000s. 99, 2000 was the last time it was used for a full baseball season. When we took over, it was abandoned. Not much was going on. I think some high school games had maybe taken place there, but the structure was still solid. We went to the city and we just asked, hey, we want to turn this into a soccer pitch. I'm a big snob myself, so we cleared what was left of a diamond. We planted new grass. We put soccer goals up, and I love it because, as y'all mentioned, we're in a very strong soccer cultured market here. And so for a lot of these like old, and especially the Mexican fan base, the Liga MX fan base, if they come to our game and they see football lines or they see goalposts, they're immediately turned off. And what I love about our venue is you come in and this looks familiar. This looks like a soccer pitch. So it is truly a soccer pitch now. You know, think of the Tampa Bay Rowdies, AV Alto. We look at both of those clubs a lot when we're looking at fixing up our venue. But it's in the heart of the Rio Grande Valley. We're smack dab in the middle. We're in between Brownsville and McAllen, so we try to capture the entire Rio Grande Valley, where the Toros were in the northern part of the valley, McAllen, Edinburgh area. But, you know, we had a USL championship team, the RGV Toros. That was the first taste of professional soccer we had here in the valley. They dissolved after 4 or 5 years of launching. And then in between all of that, we've had semi-pro clubs in the past. We've had semi-pro clubs throughout the valley. We've had semi-pro clubs just in one city of the valley. So, you know, we knew that if we were going to launch, we wanted to do things different. And I think where we do things different than most clubs is we're not, you know, wins and losses matter. And especially in the thick of the season, it's really important for us. But we focused on community first. The soccer was secondary when we launched, but now that we're launched, we're in motion. Now we're really focused on the soccer aspect. So much so that our next big voyage is going to be the Open Cup, and so we're really excited about that. We're excited about the excitement from the fan base, not knowing what Open Cup was 2 weeks ago. And now people are asking us, like, when did the qualifiers start? When is round one of the tournament? So we're really excited. We felt like it was our responsibility to kind of educate folks on lower league soccer in America. And we feel like we haven't only educated them, but we've created this appetite for lower league soccer with help of the World Cup, of course.
Yeah.
And that's a great point there. I was actually going to ask you about and like getting to know the area they're down there. There's some history. There's some potential other teams popping up. Like, is the population down there keen to support local? Like you said, if you have baseball set up or football lines, that's like a barrier. And only a few people are able to like cast that like line blindness and just like look past that, enjoy the soccer, but that is kind of a barrier for a lot of folks. But in general, are people willing to, like, maybe they have a Mexican league team? Like, does there seem to be a growing openness to look in the backyard to support their team that's from their town?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our motto has been locally focused. So last year we had 4 guys go pro. This year we have 2 or 3 guys that might be making that jump.
Hey.
And so folks see that, and they see that there is talent here in their backyard. We just want to be that team that cultivates it and sends it out to the rest of the world. So folks are seeing that. Folks are seeing that, lower league soccer in this country is growing, and they're seeing some of these exciting matches. I know last night we had the League for Clubs final. The USL2 had their semifinals. People are watching that, and they're seeing that there is really good soccer out there at this level. It is a tough market. While the population is there, we're also the poorest 2 counties in the country. So costs, we keep that in mind with everything we do. We have to make it affordable. We have bills to pay ourselves. So it's a very, coming through with our budget, it was very strategic on where we focus, and some things maybe we undercharge purposely. But, there's an appetite there. It's a growing community. The university here, UTRGV, took over the soccer pitch that the Toros played in. And I mean, they were getting 12,000 folks a game, 12,000 folks a game. So I truly believe, back to, doing things, being genuine, authentic, and with intent, people will see that, people will gravitate towards that. And I believe they'll feel comfortable spending their dollars with us.
Oh, that's great to hear, and interesting that you're kind of catering to the situation or the area that you're in, and that's quite notable. You said the poorest 2 counties in the entire country, so you have to price accordingly. Is there a lot of like grassroots access? This is a little bit off topic, but is there a lot of grassroots access to soccer, like for the youth and whatnot in the area that, like the younger generation is getting involved?
One day there's a Red Crowns Academy, right? That's got to be part of the dream.
Yeah, I mean, we would love to be in that business, but where we're at now, being grassroots, being Division 4 soccer, it doesn't really make sense for us because there's so much. We would just be another pawn in that game. There's so much effort when it comes to these academies, to these teams, to these efforts. One thing that we're really focused on is making it more accessible to folks. Pay to play has been the popular subject since the World Cup. So we're trying to think of ways to allow kids who maybe aren't able to afford it, to allow them to play on a team and kind of get that feeling. The other thing that I've been really excited about, and I've been pushing these guys, and I want to be a resource myself. A lot of the school districts here locally have adopted soccer into their elementary curriculum. So there's after-school programs in elementary and middle school for soccer. So each elementary school will have their soccer club, and then they meet on Saturdays and they play. So I've talked to
love that.
I can tell you, Jamal, could tie it back into what we started with. So obviously I caught your commercial. Very excited to see Jamal on TV, but on the radio, Bank of America bought a bunch of time on SiriusXM FC. So I was constantly doing ad reads for Bank of America. One of the things that they are doing, and I'm not trying to make big bank sound great. I'm sure not everything they do is awesome, but they helped you guys. Soccer in schools is like a thing that they're pushing. So that's clearly like, let's use the schools to get kids introduced to this game.
Yeah, so it's happening with one of our school districts. I mentioned that commercial actually. Same thing, I was probably not the easiest guy to deal with because of our image. We don't want to be corporate. We since day one said we're not corporate, and then here I am on a Bank of America commercial. But to your point, I loved what they were pushing with the school after school stuff. And that's one thing I'm pushing with our school districts when we speak with them. If they can adopt this program, I really think that is step one in changing the game here in the U.S., making it affordable, making it accessible. So we reached out to one of the school districts and we said, hey, we have these relationships. let me help you guys get jerseys for these kids. Right now, they're just using T-shirts. Like one team is a white T-shirt, the other team's a blue T-shirt. I was like, let me help these kids like feel special when they play for you guys on the weekend. So that's something we're working on next year is finding partners and collaborators and providing jerseys for these programs. But the way my jaw dropped when I heard about this, because I truly think this is something very significant, not just for this area, but if the rest of the country can adopt this and stop making it so, transactional for kids to play, I think we're headed in the right direction finally for this kind of stuff.
Well, that's
Cool.
awesome. I'm running through a brick wall for you in my head here. Very inspiring stuff, because getting the game into schools is one of my things I want to do, like as a legacy project at some point in my career, is to do something like that. And that's encouraging that there's other folks with that in mind. And that's very cool that you guys are trying to facilitate that as well. And big year 2 for you guys, teams like step by step, growth by growth, and preparing yourself for perhaps a bigger step up next. Can you leave us with one kind of, we talked a little bit of data and some numbers about the growth. Can you give us one anecdote of like your takeaway from year 2?
I mean, tell us about the barista in the commercial. That was a pretty good anecdote, Rob.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, no, but like obviously, I think what Rob is asking you is, how has Red Crowns? Have you seen this kind of impact? The soccer community in your part of the country. I don't know. You have a story you can share?
Yeah, I mean, the barista story, that's one of many that it really affected folks this week, that weekend. They shot inside of a coffee shop, and the coffee shop was reluctant. I'm going to throw some folks under the bus right now. They did a scene. A movie came down to shoot. It was a made for Netflix movie. It was a Christmas movie. I don't remember the name of it, but it dealt with, border issues. And so they shot at the same cafe we did. And I was told later on that the coffee shop was not paid. They had to close down. They brought in talent from LA to shoot the scene. And then when it was finally out, you see it for like 2 seconds. Bank of America came in. Not only did they pay them per day to use the shop, a pretty good amount from my understanding, they hired local baristas to be in the scene. They allowed them to stay open while they shot so that they didn't lose any sales that day. So in between takes, we would stop. People would come in, get their coffee, come right back out. And then there's another point I'm missing there. I think the local cast was all local kids, but when they left, they were like, this was night and day. We had such a bad taste in our mouth of Hollywood, but this was like, they had us in mind. They had our business in mind. They still got Earshot done. So it was little things like that really meant a lot. And I think people who maybe didn't really know about the Red Crowns or didn't know our story saw that I'm here pushing for the Rio Grande Valley. I'm pushing for us to be successful, and we spread the love that weekend from this spot, and even after, with these watch parties, everything we've done, we could have held that in house. We could have done our own watch party, but we truly try to help the community, raise up every chance that we get. But we're seeing it on our end. We're seeing it with our ticket sales. We're seeing it with our corporate sponsorships. We're seeing it with our group nights. One of the coffee shops that was featured in that spot did a group night game 1, and they brought about 15 of their staff and had a big group night for game 1 on our season. So it's one of those things that, you help your community and they're going to support you right back. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it in real time. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Great to hear about all the great things that have been happening down there with the Red Crowns. Jamal Fayed, thank you so much for checking in and letting us know what's going on in the area, and with RGV Red Crowns. Thank you so much.
No, man. Thank you, guys. I tell y'all every time, thank y'all for doing this. We need more storytellers in the sport.
I gotta get my hands on some gear, because I'm looking at the logo on the hat, Jamal.
The hat is sick.
You guys killed it. You guys killed it with that.
We literally sold out of everything, so much so that we're launching our second styles of hats and the new kits I'm excited about. We're working on the new kits. So those should launch in about February. Awesome. Really excited for those. And lastly, guys, if no one, or if we have first time listeners here, become an MK Ultra. I can't tell you how many times I check Discord now. I went from not even knowing what Discord was to checking that thing 4 or 5 times a day. So it's
Awesome.
fun, and if you're a soccer fan, it's for you.
Yeah, appreciate that, Jamal. That's awesome.
Cheers. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you in the MK Discord very soon.
Sounds good. Thank you guys. Have a good one.